Welcome to the Real Boardloft. I'm Forman, and this is the Lost Surfboards Maysym asymmetrical all-around hybrid surfboard. So I think we need to start out this first look video with demystifying asymmetrical surfboards, because there is a ton of confusion about them and also myths about them, and I think people, they kind of grasp the concept, but then they kind of talk themselves out of it. So let's dive into it and explain what's going on. So asymmetrical boards have been around for tens and tens and tens of years. Back into the 80s, they've been around, I think even 70s, and it's basically creating two different boards in one board. And originally, they were floating around in windsurfing, and that was based around having a board for a wave that was breaking in the same direction. And so your bottom turn side was longer and your top turn side was shorter. So you get a more drive in your bottom turn, more projection, and then a quicker off the top. In surfing, it's a little bit different. It's more akin to an asymmetrical snowboard in that you buy it for your stance. So that's one of the myths, I think, in surfing asymmetricals, is people think that they would need to own two asymmetricals, one for right breaking waves and one for left breaking waves, when it's actually, as the surfer, you only need to have one. So if you're a goofy footed surfer, you would have a goofy foot asymmetrical. If you were a regular foot, you would have a regular foot asymmetrical, and you would be able to ride it right or left. As a shop, we have to stock both of those, so it's a little bit harder for us. We have to stock regular and goofy-footed boards for each size, but for the surfer, you only have to have one, and you can ride it on rights or lefts, which is different than a windsurfing asymmetrical that only went one way. So this board right here is a regular foot asymmetrical Maysym, and the Maysym was originally designed off the V2 stub. So for those of you that remember the Rocket series that went from the original OG Rocket to the V2, and then there was a smaller wave V2 called the V2 stub. So this board, forward of where the tail gets different, is basically a V2 stub, and then you get into the business end of the board with what's going on in the back of the board for the asymmetrical sides of the board. So again, regular footed, this is going to be your toe side rail on this side of the board, and you can see that Matt Bailos is using a Rocket tail with a longer, straighter rail line out the back of the board. And so the longer, straighter rail line is going to give you more drive. And then also on the bottom, if you flip the board over, you can see that there's a single channel running right here. And this does several things. It gives you more grip in the turns. It gives you more projection in the turns. And then it also adds a little bit more concave and tail rocker right here out the tail of the board. So what that does is it gives you more rocker on this side to even out and offset that longer, straighter rail line, and allows you to go more vertical on that toe side turn. Now when you get onto the heel side turn on the asymmetrical board, which is going to be this side right here for the regular foot, you can see it's just a standard round tail. And so what that does is it gives you, and it has a shorter rail line. And what both of those are going to do is give you a more pivotal turn and a board that's easier to turn on your heel side. And so whether it is a snap off, if you're riding the wave front side and you're snapping off the top, so let's say this is a regular footed board and you're going right front side and then you're snapping off the top or wrapping it back into the pocket off the top, having this shorter rail line with this round tail is going to allow the board to surf more pivotally off the top in a tighter arc and have it be a little bit more fun and snappy off the top. When you're riding it backside, again, for the regular footers, when you're riding it backside on those lefts, it allows you to have a quicker turning board off the bottom on your backside and have the board go more vertically easier on your backside than a normal symmetrical board. So again, that breaks it down. You're able to use this board as a regular footed surfer. You would use this board on rights, you would use it on lefts. But what this is doing, we all know that like we're standing one way on the board. We're not standing like we're skiing, looking forward on the board, where you could use a symmetrical board. You're obviously you're standing, and the anatomy of your body is different whether you're going toe side or heel side, and the design of the board adapts to that, and then figures out, figures basically what is stronger in your body, what's weaker in your body, and then also the ability of your body to bend and twist through those turns, and then basically design a surfboard around that. It's not rocket science, even though it is on a rocket-based board, but this has been around, again, like in snowboarding for a long, long time, where people have been, making regular foot or goofy foot asymmetricals, primarily in racing and carving style boards. The other thing that's worth mentioning in the design of this board, just again, like bringing asymmetricals to the masses, is that while the outline of the board is asymmetrical in the tail, the fin placement is symmetrical, meaning that you could ride it as a standard thruster, you could ride it as a quad. There's no weird fin placement. Like a lot of times, again, on those radical asymmetricals, you'll see like one fin up here, another fin back here. This side will have one fin. Like it'll have three fins, two on one side, one on the other. It's just so far out there that a lot of people can't grasp it. I think having it a little bit more conservative and just having a standard thruster or quad setup that is symmetrical at least gives the surfer something to grasp that they're used to, and then they can then benefit from the two different tail shapes on the board. The fact that it looks and feels like a Lost Rocket, which is one of the more popular hybrids ever out there, and everything in the back is just subtle. I think a lot more people, it just basically opens asymmetrical surfboard design to the masses, because there's been a lot of press on asymmetricals the last few years, whether it be Maurice Cole or some of the other shapers, Elkstrom, talking about these boards. And but again, like a lot of the boards are just a little bit too radical for the mainstream to grasp. But I think this board right here does a really good job of doing that. This is a small wave board. It's meant for 1 to 4 foot surf. So this is basically like your gravel board. It's going to go in the same place as like where a puddle jumper would go, and kind of cover the same range. But again, it's going to have that real drivey feel off the toe side, and then that real snappy feel or vertical backside feel off the heel side. It's the Lost Maysym asymmetrical hybrid. If you have any questions on this board or you'd like to place an order, you can reach us at the shop, 252-987-6000, or you can look us up online, realwatersports.com. Thanks for tuning in.